Hello and welcome to Table Podcast, episode 6, the one with Mammoth Watch. Was that impressive enough?
Yeah, can we get some echo on that?
I'll try when I edit it to get some like echo and reverb on it.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I like it.
So today, there's two of us here again. There's me, I'm Neil.
And I'm Dan.
And today we're mostly going to be talking about the campaign weekend. Campaign weekend tournament. It was kind of in between, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's call it a hobby event.
The hobby event that Dan attended last weekend, no?
Yeah.
Which was the Mingvitational.
Hobby Mingvitationals 2015. Which makes it sound like there's going to be a Hobby Mingvitationals 2016, but I think this one nearly killed Ming, so that might not be the case.
Yeah, I did see that like about 3 days after on Twitter and just going, I'm so ill, I think I might die.
Yeah. I mean, I'm told he's all right. I've heard from Ming since, so he's definitely survived.
So he did survive the game. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to do that, and I think we're also going to talk about our upcoming DIY Space Marine Chapter Challenge.
Yeah, our very exciting first podcast competition with a fabulous and as yet undecided prize.
Yes, which is possibly just a mention on the show, or possibly something better.
We might travel to the country and give you a hug. So I'm hoping that someone
in Leeds.
Someone in Leeds, yeah, not even someone in the UK. Really, somebody in this postcode. If you could win, that would be better.
So first off, we'll start with the news. The main news from Games Workshop is more Space Marines, and it looks like upcoming is more Space Marines, but Space Marines with a strange secret that they don't like to talk about.
Yeah, and you know what? I really like the Codex art for the new Dark Angel. This is basically all it comes down to for 40k Codexes for me now. I have a look and see if I like the picture on the cover. The new Space Marine one, I was disappointed with. I didn't like all the white behind it. I thought it looked didn't look as in the action as a lot of the other ones. Dark Angel seems to have gone down the same route. Still a lot of white background, but the art of the Dark Angel on the front looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going to be rubbish, isn't it? Because they haven't done a Dark Angel book that's not been rubbish ever. I don't think. I think every version of the Dark Angel's Codex has been disappointing.
Yes, I think the only thing really that has ever been not was when you couldn't really take a lot of Terminators and you could do the Deathwing for Darkwood.
Yeah,
but that's going back to what, maybe 4th edition?
Third, I think. Yeah,
but yeah, other than that, they had maybe a year or two when they were great because you could just take all Terminators.
Yeah, but now there's Grey Knights do it better. Black Legion, I think, can do it, possibly.
No, they're chosen.
There's someone else who can do it as well. Well, now every Space Marine chapter can take Strike Force Ultra.
Yeah.
So they'd probably do it better. I suppose the Black Templar ones with Crusading Rage and counter-attacking Terminators probably going to be better than the Dark Angel ones.
But don't forget the Dark Angel ones, if you all stand side by side, you get +1 toughness.
Yeah, I don't knock +1 toughness. That makes a big difference, especially when they've all got 3+ invulnerable saves as well. But that means standing side by side.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of in a skirmish game.
It's a pain in the arse, is what it is. It's not even that awkward to move around. It's just like, for those of us who come from playing Warhammer, thinking, well, where's my movement tray? This is an awful lot of moving models individually, trying to keep them in base contact. But I'm just lazy like that. So, other news, I suppose, we should mention, like everyone else, the conspicuous lack of news about Age of Sigmar. What it is. I know you guys have mentioned that already, and the internet will have another 4 different rumours by the time that this gets broadcast, so give it a cursory mention, but I don't think it's worth dwelling on the rumours for.
No, we said this last time, until we reached the point, and we were talking earlier, and I think you hit the nail on the head, until we reached the point where we actually have a leaked photo from the rulebook that you can look at and go, that's definitely a photo from the rulebook and not just somebody photoshopping something. It's not worth really talking about other than we know when it's coming out.
Even then, it's still deceiving. I mean, when the rumours for Glotkin were appearing and everyone saw the Chaos Ascendant and the Demon Summoning rules and thought, this is going to be ridiculous. And then the book came out and it says, the bit that was missed off all the photos, these are only in specific scenarios, not all the time. And until I have I'm going to reserve judgment until I have the book in my hand. But I'm confident that after 15 years of playing Warhammer through 3 or 4 different editions, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, it'll still be Warhammer.
Yes. It will still be a game worth playing. It may be a different game to what we are playing, but as we said last time, if you look at 7th edition, 8th edition, they're completely different games.
Yeah, keep the faith. And as a long-time devotee of Tzeentch, I can really only support further change.
Definitely.
Yeah, change is good. That's why we've consistently used bird demons for thousands of years. Change is good, but just not in your demons.
No. Other news, just some stuff about the podcast itself. I don't know if I mentioned last time. I don't actually know if I've done it last time. But we are now available on Stitcher, if anybody likes to use the Stitcher app on their phone or use it on the web. I'm starting to upload all the back episodes up to YouTube, because I know some people find that blogs and the like are blocked at work, but they can still access YouTube, because basically everybody these days needs to use YouTube to find out how to do things.
Yeah.
And we now have a Facebook page.
Sorry, I was marvelling at my quality contribution to that section of the conversation.
Deep in depth knowledge of the internet there.
Yeah, and a nod. Listeners can't see the nod, but the nod, I think, was key to conveying the nuances of my meaning there. Yeah.
So yes, we have a Facebook page.
Internet stuff.
Yes. If you want, go and like us. I will say now it's probably only going to be updated with stuff from the blog, because I don't think any of us really use Facebook that much.
Not so much, no. It scares me. It's different.
It's not Twitter.
Twitter's easy. It's immediate. It's sorted. Although I think I prefer Facebook's like to Twitter's favourite, because it feels like it's an awful lot of pressure to decide which is my favourite ever tweet. And I've never pushed that button, because I think until I've read all the tweets, I can't decide which one's the favourite. Facebook, I can immediately tell if I like or do not like something, and I can mark it. But I'm not prepared to commit to favouriting something.
You are allowed to have more than one favourite on Twitter. I don't know
that's not what favourite means,
is
it? No. Then they should have said one of your favourites. No, favourite, singular. You can only have one. So I'm waiting until I've read all the tweets. I think I'm nearly there.
You see, maybe this could actually be for the competition. This could be the win.
This is the fabulous prize.
Fabulous prize. Dan will use his only favourite on Twitter, and he will favourite one of your tweets.
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty good endorsement. That's both fabulous and enticing.
Yes. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the news. Until we have anything more sort of firm in hand with Age of Sigmar, it's not really worth going into anything else, is it?
No, I don't think so.
So
what have you been up to this week, Neil, hobby-wise?
Well, hobby-wise, for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, I've mostly been building and painting a Cerastus Knight Acheron?
Acheron?
Acheron? Yeah.
It's a Jewish knight. Acheron.
Yeah, it does sound like it should have a bit of phlegm in it as you pronounce it.
The one with the flavour.
The one with the massive flame.
Yeah, one with the flavour. Yeah, and you can see pictures of that on the blog as well as Twitter, or just on Twitter?
If I'd got around to it in the blog post, you can see pictures of it on the blog post. I haven't yet. I am also attempting to film as I'm painting it, because if you have seen it, I'm using it's all metallic.
All metallic glazes. Yeah. You've taken my technique and made it faster and easier by having the balls to use your airbrush.
Yes.
It's stuck there with my brush still.
It is so much easier. You really need to learn how to use your airbrush.
You have to switch it on.
You'll actually be able to paint a vehicle.
No, I don't like it. It's different. So wait and see if Age of Sigmar is rubbish, and then I have to play 40k properly. Then I'll learn how to paint a vehicle. No, I'll just play Tyranids or something like that.
But so that's coming on quite well. I've also started doing some conversion work on what I've been
#secret project.
Yes. But that's a secret, so we'll hold off on any of that until I've actually got a full unit of stuff.
Oh, so it's a secret that can have units.
Yeah, secret unit.
And it requires painting.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
that narrows it down there. Yeah.
Yeah. That was another and a head nod there.
Yes.
Quality. What about games? Last game you played?
Last game, I played a game of Guild Ball against James for our Guild Ball League, which has now started.
Yep.
I say it has now started. I think it basically involves me losing. I managed to lose 12-0.
That's a good score.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
I was, playing it, close to my chest, thinking I'll let him think he's ahead, and then, I'll come back.
You'll wait for that third half.
Yes. Yeah. Didn't quite go to plan there.
Yeah, I haven't painted my Guild Ball stuff yet. I really must, because I need to play my league game, and so far we are over 6 months into the year, and I haven't yet broke my hobby resolution of not playing a game with an unpainted model. So I need to crack on with my Masons. They'll be getting some paint at some point soon, but at some point, probably the night before, Spuddy's cracking his whip and insisting that I play my game so we can do the next league turn. Do we have turns? I haven't looked into this at all. How does football work? Do we have home and away games? Do you have to come and play at my house, then I have to go and play at your house?
Do you know, I'm just actually trying to think what you term it in football, because you don't call it
Draw?
match it. Yeah, draw.
Yeah?
Yeah, draw.
Okay.
You can tell we're both ardent sport fans here.
Yeah. Yes. What was Wenger thinking? Yep. I learned all three phrases from the IT crowd, so I can now fake my way through any football conversation.
You see, you said that, and I immediately started thinking of the Wenger Boys, which is a really dodgy 90s reference. Again, as always, if you're too young, look them up on the internet.
Yep. You got me thinking of Space Jam again now. Good times. So I, recently, and for the last 3 months, and seemingly all time before that, have been painting my Chaos War Mammoth.
You have?
And
that is not a euphemism before anybody worries.
Oh, it was so much work, so much more work than I thought it was going to be. I really thought, it's huge, it's fine, I'll do some zenithal sprays to get the colours down for the fur, give it some dry brushes, paint the skin. The fact that it's enormous will do most of the shading and the highlighting for me, just with actual light, and it'll be fine. I didn't realise how much detail was on that model until I started painting it. And it's a huge, expensive model I didn't want to cheap out on, so I did every stage properly. I didn't cut any corners, I didn't rush any bits, I didn't think, oh, that's good enough, it'll do. I kept going till I was satisfied with it, with all the crew, with the blending on the colour fades on the shields all the way around it, highlighting and washing all the individual nicks on the piece of wood strapped together to make the howdah, painting it in sub-assemblies, which I never do. I always just stick it all together and figure if you're not going to be able, if I can't get my brush to it, you probably can't see it anyway.
Yeah, and that thing though, it's big enough that I think there are areas you can't get your brush to, but you can still see, isn't it?
I think I spent 40 to 60 quid on paint and spray paint for it.
I can believe that, yeah.
Yeah, it's three pots of textured paint to cover its base. And I've been painting that for ages. And I'm really glad that I left the crew till last. Because I don't like painting big models. As much as every army I build seems to have some big centerpiece model in it, and I'm already planning the next big model for my army, I really don't enjoy painting them. I like painting 28mm infantry models. And I had 3 infantry classic Tzeentch sorcerers to go up on there: bird face, moon face, and no face. And if you're old enough, you'll know exactly what models I'm talking about. I saved them to last. I really enjoyed painting them, and they've left me, instead of leaving me beaten and defeated after slogging through a model I don't like painting, they've left me really jazzed and ready to crack on with the next project. I've got so much stuff on my painting desk at the moment already. I've got my Guild Ball team, my Masons that I need to paint, as I mentioned. I've got a unit Skull Crushers. I thought 8th edition's pretty much over. I've gone all the way through playing with this version of the Warriors of Chaos book. Never used Skull Crushers, so maybe it's time now. Now's the time to get them painted, just in time for what Games Workshop to make them rubbish. But now I might wait and see if they need to go on round basis, since they haven't been painted yet. I've got, I've still got the best part of 5,000 points of Warriors of Chaos in boxes somewhere that can be assembled and painted, and a Toad Dragon. So that might be my first big round-based model that I hate painting.
I was wondering, you couldn't even mount that on a CD, but you'd have to mount that on vinyl. It might be the only round thing big enough.
You know what works really well is the old Apocalyptic Blast marker. The really big green one fit their Titan on it. But I think what I'd probably do is get some kind of oval base. It might squeeze on a Titan's base, on an Imperial Knight's base.
Don't know if it'd be wide enough. Actually,
it might squeeze on 2 Imperial Knight's base, cut in the middle and stuck together.
Because it is that is just a massive
It's a
model.
huge model. As long as I can get all 4 feet on the base, that'll be alright. I might have to get some bloody awful custom laser cut MDF one. I know people love them. I don't. I like my plastic bases with sloping edges. I'll sort something for it. It'll find a way to do it. Maybe Games Workshop will produce some new larger plastic round bases now that they've got. If this is true and those are the rules that are coming in. What else have I got to do as well? I've got to pick my Dark Age stuff. Still haven't played that. Every episode of the podcast I have here on is just going to be, I'm going to pick my Dark Age stuff I want to play.
Yeah. Thanks. I have actually had a game of that.
Yeah, you have. Well, I've had a game of it, but it must have been last year because it was with unpainted models rather than any this year. What else? I'm starting 2 new 40k projects, maybe 3. I want to make some true scale Thousand Suns. 40k Thousand Suns rather than 30k ones. 30k I will be all over the Horus Heresy Thousand Suns when Forge World does the models for them. But
they're one of those armies where it's just not worth converting because no matter what you do,
it won't be as good.
No, as soon as they come out, you're just going to go, no, they're rubbish. I want them.
But I quite fancy a small warband with just a couple of true scale, a couple of units of true scale rubrics, sorcerers in there, chaos. Maybe even just like 1,000 points and try and get a little 1,000-point campaign day or something like that. Something just to play with some smaller narrative games. And I'm about to start reading Ahriman's Sorcerer, and I know 100% that by the time I finished it, I'll want a Thousand Suns army, so I'm getting a jump on the competition. Jump on the desire there. Jump on the desire, that sounds terrible. It's like the name of a really bad 80s band. And of course, I've got my Space Marine DIY Chapter Challenge entry that I need to start on as well, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Yeah, lots of stuff to paint. I'm not going to do any of this.
Well, you never know.
Something new and shiny will come out and I'll be like, ooh, that!
Yeah, that is I think that's the problem. I think we both have kind of ADHD when it comes to models, and we both have the, shiny, new.
Yeah. The problem is you and I are both very, very much into the background of the game, very much so for 40k, and the release schedule's been so fast this year that they've got so much stuff out and I want all of it. I haven't got time to build an army before the next ones come out. Harlequins, love the Harlequin background, love the models, want them. Before I got a chance to buy any Harlequins, Skitarii came out. Skitarii, fantastic. I'm going to have them from Demos and they can be allied to my Grey Knights. It's going to be fantastic. Then the Cult Mechanicus came out. Like, no, big robots. I want them instead. And before I got a chance to do anything with those, Space Marine books come out and I was like, it always comes back to Space Marines for me. So I now have the break in the 40k releases until after Age of Sigmar to get a little bit of Space Marine stuck together. But then there'll be something else out, and I want that. Age of Sigmar will come out, it'll have some new Chaos models in the box, and I'm like, oh, more Chaos! Let's have some of that. I could do with painting some more Warriors of Chaos.
You can never have enough Warriors of Chaos in a Warriors of Chaos army.
I took 20 this weekend, and that was 20 too many.
That is the one thing that needs to be fixed with the Warriors. Yeah. Actually, the Warriors actually need to be worth taking.
Yeah, they're too expensive for... They are fantastic. Their stats are fantastic, but in practice it doesn't work. They're not good. You can't get them in kind of numbers for them to be worth taking. Everything else in the book is a better option. But yeah, that's... There's no point debating that, is there? Because that could entirely change on the 11th of July. So
we won't be buying them individually for,
Yes. Well, if Age of Sigmar is just souped up Regiments of Renown, I'll be perfectly happy because Regiments of Renown is crazy fun. I guess that segues on nicely to the
the hobby weekend.
Yeah.
So I think we'll take a very quick break and then we'll come back with that. And we're back. So Dan, the Hobby Mingvitational 2015.
Yep. I've been to the 2014 previous event, so I thought it would be a shame not to go to this one. Bore my perfect record. For anyone who's been living under a rock for the last 3 to 6 months, and hasn't followed any of Ming's Herculean effort to promote the event, the Hobby Mingvitationals were a primarily invite and then have to have a nice looking army only event to get a hobby driven event. There were only a fraction of the total points for the weekend available from actual gaming. Lots of other little bits like speed painting and a fluff quiz. It's very much Ming took all the bits he loved from the Painting Masters, from traditional tournaments like a Gathering of Might, and from the narrative campaign weekends that I've run before, and meshed it all together into a hobby event weekend that went off really well. And like I say, you'd have to have been living under a rock to have missed all the hashtag HMV15 stuff that's been flying around for a lot. Chris Tomlin from the Black Sun's done an amazing job with Ming of creating mini episodes of the Black Sun podcast, their Ming-terviews, interviewing a lot of the attendees. I think they did like 20 episodes, and some of them had multiple people on, so they've got more than half the field interviewed before they came around as well. I appeared on one of those, and got back. So I just got back from that. Feels like I just got back from that. I think I might still be travelling back from Bristol. Bristol's really far away from Leeds. So I don't know if we have any American listeners who are probably laughing now as they think.
It does always amuse me when you hear an English British podcast and people going, oh yeah, that's too far to travel. That's like 3 or 4 hours away. Because I know for a fact I follow guys on Twitter and they're like, oh, I'm off to my friends to play Warhammer this weekend. I'm driving 8 hours for a single game, and then I'm going to drive 8 hours back. But because the UK is so small, I think anything over 4 hours in a car is a really long time for us. It's just, you can drive the entire length of the country in, on a good day, probably 10, 12 hours. Land's End, John O'Groats.
Well, no, not anymore, because you'll be stuck in nothing but 50 mile an hour average speed zones.
Yeah, I think that's the thing at the moment as well. The government, in their wisdom, has decided that they're going to upgrade every single motorway. I think
it's the EU. I think the EU are making them do it. I don't know.
But even so, they've decided to do every single motorway in the country at the same time. So basically, the entire country is 50 miles an hour.
But they've only employed the same 10 people to do it, so you'll never see them working on one motorway because they're always off on one of the other ones. I drove through, in total this weekend, 8, maybe 9 average speed camera zones, including there and back, and I never saw one person working.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, from where we are to Bristol, it was about a 4-hour drive with no stops, but it's too far to go without stopping.
Yeah, I know, because my parents are about an hour up from Bristol, and 3 hours, especially when you've got all those 50 mile an hour limits, is too far without stopping.
Yeah. And I was on my own in the car as well, which made a big difference. Yeah. No one to talk to, no one to kind of keep me focused, keep me chatting, pass the time. I was very aware of how long I was in that car getting there and getting back. And it's a shame, because I think for me that's put a little tarnish on what was otherwise a fantastic event. My abiding memory of HMV is still going to be
50 miles an hour on a
50 miles an hour on a motorway. Yeah.
Were you about the farthest north of anyone there?
I think so, because there were some guys from Scotland who couldn't make it in the end. A few of the Liverpool lads went down, but we are further north than they are.
Well, also it's an easier drive from Liverpool because you can go straight down the M6, whereas we've got to go either down the M1 or across the M62 and then down the M6 or across the M42.
Yeah.
I've done that journey
It's not a straight route.
Many times.
Well, I actually, on the way down, I called in at Warhammer World at the lunch stop, not realising that my sat-nav wouldn't just put me back on the M1 where I got off, and I wound up going through a bunch of A roads through Leicestershire until I connected back up with a motorway somewhere. I think that was the M42. But yeah, it was a long way down, long way back, late night back, and stupidly I hadn't booked the day off work afterwards.
Never a good idea.
No. But once I got there, it was very good.
So you went down on the Friday. Actually, before we get any further, Warhammer World. The new Warhammer World. What's it like?
It's like the old Warhammer World with slightly fewer tables and some more shops.
Did you go into the page to go in the hall?
I didn't, so it's maybe not fair to judge the whole thing. I didn't pay to go up to have a look at the displays because I knew I was only doing a flying visit, so I didn't want to...
Yeah, it's probably not worth paying $7.50 for like 20 minutes, is it?
No, I'll go back and do it properly. Bugman's was exactly the same. It's really like they've taken the old merchandise that you could only get in Bugman's and created Warhammer World versions of things like that as well. So there's quite a lot of stuff down there besides just the models that you can only get in Warhammer World. There's the Forge World shop as well, and there's the Black Library shop. The Black Library shop I found more interesting than the Forge World one. The Forge World one was great because you can get the stuff off the shelves, but you used to be able to do that in Warhammer World anyway, really.
Yeah, and if they didn't have it, they used to make it for you.
Yeah, the Black Library shop has a lot of stuff you can only get there, like the... I know that there's a Horus Heresy novel you can only get there, but they also had things like the Titan graphic novel and the Inquisitor Ascendant graphic novel, Death Squadron, stuff like that. I could have spent a fortune in that Black Library shop, and I restrained myself and only bought an audio drama and a novel, so I'd have the audio drama to keep me company on the drive down.
So that is a good excuse for an audio drama.
Yeah.
You see, I am slightly worried because I'm off down with Spuddy in a couple of weeks because we both booked a day off work to go, and I think it's going to cost me a fortune.
Yeah, you will. You can find so much stuff to spend in there, just in the Black Library shop, let alone in the Forge World and Games Workshop store. It's good. I guess it's an improvement over the old Warhammer World, but it's not all singing, all dancing, fantastic. It's not like the old one was a wreck or anything.
No. And I take it you still had to sit through all the traffic in Nottingham because they're still building a tramway.
No, it's done. I went the long diversion way, preempting it, and I got there expecting the temporary lights. It's finished.
No.
Yeah, I could turn up the road. I was supposed to turn up. I went straight up there. There's no temporary lights to turn right onto Willow Road. It was straight on there. I think they finally finished it.
For anyone who's listening who's never been to Warhammer World, for the last 5, possibly even 6 years, basically they've been digging up the entire Nottingham because Nottingham Council decided they'd stick in a tramway. But they basically seem to have just dug the road up in front of Warhammer World and said, right, we've dug that up. We'll leave that now.
That'll be funny, them geeks can't get in.
We'll go and do everything else. And at some point we'll get round to finishing it.
Oh, let's see your Space Marines get over this. That's my Nottingham accent.
That's it. Oh.
Bang on, isn't it?
I was going to say that's an appalling Nottingham accent, but now I can't actually think what a Nottingham accent is. It's a bit...
It's just like this. Perfect. A Nottingham Muppet. So yeah, finished at Warhammer World. Slightly additional detour to Bristol. Eventually got to the venue via the train station after picking up Ming. We went into the venue, BIG, Bristol Independent Gaming, which is the first time I'd been there. It was nice. It was very similar, I think, to the Northwest Gaming Centre. It's in an industrial estate. It's a converted warehouse. There's a lot of industrial elements on the wall still. I know that it's a reasonably new venue and the guys are working on stripping all that back. They are improving the tables and the terrain. As it is, the terrain was... Some of the themed terrain was quite nice, but a lot of the generic terrain... For me, as a unabashed fluff gamer, there seemed to be a bent towards practicality, which I can understand. You want it to be easy to play over. But
I think especially when you're first setting up a game, because to set up a full-size gaming centre, that's a massive investment in scenery.
Yeah,
and time to build the scenery.
But I can't help thinking, whilst it is difficult to play Warhammer over, I like the stuff they used to have at Warhammer World with the awesome trees all stuck together. I like the stuff I was able to put together for the campaign weekend at the Northwest Gaming Centre. But this was very much like the hills. I think were quite square and level. It was much easier to play over than a lot of other stuff I've done. But I quite like the visual feast of the, albeit difficult to play over stuff.
If you're not having to use dice to balance your movement traces, all your models don't fall off. You're not doing it right.
No. But yeah, like I say, it's very much like the Northwest Gaming Centre. Only it's in the south, and the toilets are cleaned a lot more regularly. That was a lot more pleasant. Not as big all in. I think you might guess. No, it's not as big as the Northwest Gaming Centre that we're more familiar with. But there is an upstairs and a downstairs and a separate little room as well, so they can do quite a good job of running multiple events there, or having separate things going on, so people aren't all mixed in together. For example, when we did the speed painting on the second day, there was we got the whole separate room to deal that with, so we didn't have to do any speed painting around the tables with the other models on. So that was quite nice, and the guys there were all really nice and really accommodating. Food was different to the Subway platter that's becoming standard fare now. It was lasagna on the first day, and cottage pie on the second day. Not really my cup of tea. The cottage pie ones didn't really like that very much, but everyone else seemed to love it, so I'm assuming it's the fact that I'm not a huge fan of cottage pie. But that all went down very well otherwise. Like I said, the guys there were really nice, really accommodating, and I think it's going to go from strength to strength, that place. It's so far away, I don't see me going back there regularly. Yeah. It'd have to be something special and different to pull me down when there's so many other events closer to us geographically.
I think we're also spoiled because when they do eventually get rid of all the roadworks on the motorway, we're only essentially an hour from Nottingham?
Hour and a half, maybe. Hour and a half from Warhammer World, an hour to the Northwest Gaming Centre. But then we don't get down to Firestorm Games in Cardiff because that's so far away. Yeah. We don't get down to BIG because it's so far away. But if there was something special down there, I'd make the trip for it. It was a nice enough venue. It's just it was so far and so much petrol for me to go down solo that I wouldn't do it again for just another Warhammer tournament.
So you arrived on the Friday.
Yep.
Was there anything on the Friday night?
Yes, there was Regiments of Renown on the Friday night, and like at the campaign weekends, you get your leader from Regiments of Renown with his upgrades to carry forward as a hero in your army for the rest of the weekend. So I played in that, which was great because after running 3 or 4 campaign weekends, watching everybody else do it, now I wanted I wanted the fun. I wanted to use my own Regiment of Renown idea, and it worked out pretty well. My list was a Chaos Chosen Champion with the Mark of Tzeentch, Enchanted Shield, and a Talisman of Protection. So he's got 5+ Ward Save and a 2+ Armor Save on an infantry guy, which is not bad. Chaos Warrior, Mark of Tzeentch, Hand Weapon and Shield. A couple of Slanesh Forsaken with some of the veteran kit. Oh yeah, my hero had the Veteran Stubborn ability. Not so good in Regiments of Renown, but since I knew he was coming forward into the rest of the game, and I've seen everyone else do it at my own events, I thought I'd have some of that. And because I had 10 points left, and there's nothing good you can get for 10 points in a Warriors of Chaos army, I had 1 dog with Vanguard, Poison, and Scaly Skin.
So I take it he died every game?
Every game, yes. Of course, he was 10-point dog. The reason I took the Chosen Champion instead of the Chaos Knight everyone else takes is that I got to roll in the Eye of the Gods table at the start of the game, roll 3 dice, pick the 2 that I want, and apply the result. I was thinking more that I knew for my main army for the weekend, I had a War Shrine, so that was going to be rolling 4 dice at the start of the game if I was within 12 inches of it, and pick the 2 that I want to give me a pretty good chance of getting a free Demon Prince or a free Spawn for that game. I wasn't expecting it to come off in Regiments of Renown, but the very first game I played against Kai Bird, first dice rolls of the event, turned my Chosen Champion into a Demon Prince in an otherwise 100-point game. Kai panicked. As it turns out, he will have won that game on victory points because I had to give up.
Because you automatically lose your general, don't you?
Yeah, but it was breakthrough, and in the breakthrough scenario, you get the victory points for any of your own units in their deployment zone. So I'm thinking, if I can walk the Demon Prince into his deployment zone, that's a whole load of points. And unfortunately, Kai threw so many of his Empire guys in his way that they all died, and he failed his route test and broke when I was 2 inches away from stepping into his deployment zone. And he won that one. It kind of went from strength to strength from there. Smashed face all over the place with those, and I won the Regiment of Renown event. I think my total victory points at the end of it were 849, which is about 303 to 400 points more than the next closest person. So chaos wrecked face all over the place. Apparently, years of sitting and watching other people do it from behind the TO's desk gave me the skills necessary to crush the opponents before me.
So, taking your guy into the main event, then what did he end up with?
Nothing particularly useful. Stubborn, which he started with. That's all I wanted. He ended up with an extra attack.
Yeah, that's not bad on a...
Yeah, so he was 4 attack model. He had 2 extra points of weapon skill. For a weapon skill 8 Chosen Champion. And he had +1 leadership, which actually was pretty good because it meant he was stubborn leadership 9 with his unit. So that was keeping them around. That made a big difference in one game. But yeah, that one game it made a big difference. It wasn't the difference between winning or losing the game. So it was nice. It was nice to have him, and it's the type of list I'd take again because it was fun to play with, and it gave me a character that I was really hopeful I'd get to put some of my free Demon Princes down with. But it wasn't to be. I didn't get any Demon Princes or Spawns for the rest of the weekend.
So moving on to the main event, so how many players was it?
36, I think.
See, I was saying to you earlier, I thought it was a lot less than that looking on Twitter. I thought it was about a 16-player event. I was quite surprised when you said there were that many people there. I didn't actually think there were that many people in the country who had really nicely painted Warhammer armies.
Yeah, there were 36 really nicely painted armies there. They were nicely painted armies. Pretty much everybody entered into the spirit of the event. Didn't bring tricked out tournament lists. They brought reasonably fun choices without any of the really hard power combos.
Because this was very much a hobby event, wasn't it? So it was more around the painting, the modelling.
It was, and to be honest, there was no point bringing a ridiculously powerful army because Ming pre-wrote all the scenarios and victory conditions for everybody. So if you brought a really powerful build, he'd just make sure that your opponent got a bunch of free special rules to counter it. As an example, my first game, I was playing Kairos Fate Weaver, which everybody else, balked at the fact that Kairos Fateweaver was even allowed at an event like this. And what I needed to do to win was kill Kairos and not lose Archaean. And there were bonus points if I could kill Kairos with Archaean. But unbeknownst to my opponent, Ming had given me a special rule where if on turn 6 Archaean was within 24 inches of Kairos, I could pull Kairos into base contact with me. So I knew that if I didn't get in before then, as long as I could keep the big man alive, I could pull Kairos in and have my one crack at killing him in combat. As it turns out, Mitzi's dice were not kind to him in that game. A lot of stuff went wrong, not least of which was Kairos failing the march test to get out of Archaean's out of his line of sight and charge range. So I charged him the old-fashioned way and cut his heads off. I'm not going to go on an actual breakdown of each of the games that I played. Needless to say, they were all fun games. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. Like I say, there was no point bringing powerful stuff because you just get a bunch of rules put in to counter it, to level the playing field, or in some cases to not level the playing field. I know that Ming told me he's an unabashed good guy player, so if you were bringing an evil army, that was tough luck if they got a bunch of stuff to deal with it. But there were only a fraction of the points available for actual gaming, so it didn't make a difference. You may as well just do what you wanted to do and have fun.
But I mean, gaming-wise, we're not actually interested in your army. We're interested in 2 models.
My army was 2 models. I don't think you can appropriately use the word army when referring to my list.
So what we want to know is, who did Archaean kill?
Archaean killed the world. Archaean, special characters wise, he managed to kill Kairos. Every unit in his path. Nothing touched him infantry wise or cavalry, things like that. But yeah, he killed Kairos Fateweaver, he killed Hellebron, he killed Vlad von Karstein, and he was working on Grimgor. But Grimgor, despite claiming to be the biggest and hardest and bestest, wouldn't come and fight him on his own. Grimgor needed his buddy with his magic banner of none of your items working, all of his ranks and static combat res and his not unbreakableness. So Grimgor gave him quite a kicking, knocked him down to 1 wound, and Archaean decided he wouldn't give him the satisfaction of defeating the Everchosen. So I'm saying intentionally dimensional cascade and jumped down the hole. This is Archaean's equivalent of saying, screw you guys, I'm going home. Nearly lost, so he opened up a portal and went home. So unfortunately didn't get Grimgor, but killed everything else he touched. But he wasn't the real star of my army.
No, the real star. Mammoth.
Yes, after months and hours of blood, sweat, tears, the War Mammoth was finished in time, and even more remarkably, made it to Bristol in one piece.
That is quite an achievement.
Irritatingly, it's 2 millimeters too tall to fit inside a useful box that I use as my magnetic transports. So the bloody War Shriner stuck on the back sticks up too much to fit in. So I had to take it down open topped and hope nothing fell on it and it didn't rock around too much because it's so heavy that the magnets wouldn't hold it in place if it actually tipped over because it's got quite a high centre of gravity as well. But yeah, I made a bit of a tit of myself on my Mingvitational by saying I didn't think the War Mammoth was very good because looking at it, it basically has not so good giant attacks against fighting monsters and individual stuff, and it's really, really expensive. And it's not stubborn, and it's only leadership 8. So I'm thinking, it's going to get swamped, it's going to get killed. But as it turns out, leadership 8 doesn't make a difference if you never make it take a break test. It was unbelievable. I think I got lucky with my dice rolls for it. I feel I was being rewarded for all that effort that went into painting the Mammoth, but it really, really came alive. The first game, he heroic killing blowed a Nurgle giant with his tusks, and he got into a unit of plague bearers, and the attack I looked on the paper and thought was rubbish. Does D6 strength 10 hits for every rank of 5 or more models, and I'm looking at it through the lens of a Warriors of Chaos player where I'm thinking they're going to be individual models, he's not going to be able to hurt them, or there'll be 5 models and they'll do sod all to them. But he did 26 strength 10 hits to this unit and wiped that out unsurprisingly. Everything else ran away from him then. Second game, that was the big doubles game. In that he had to kill a few fellbats that kept jumping in front of him, but eventually he got through all the chaff, got into Vlad's skeleton bunker, went nuts on that again. So many thunderstomps, so many trample attacks. Killed all the skeletons. Thunderstomped Vlad von Carstein to death, only for Vlad to resurrect just in time for Arcane to cut his head off and finish the job. And barely taking a wound was great in that game. Third game I was playing Host of the Eternity King, and in that it decided it wanted to rack up monsters from all the books and killed a Tree Man, killed a Hydra, killed a Frostheart Phoenix, and survived 4 turns of consistent doom bolting. And in the final game, it, like everything else in my army against Grimgor's Horde, it went down. But not before it took a giant 40 Orc Biggins, a Black Orc Warlord, approximately 2 million squigs, and a whole load of Black Orcs with it. But eventually he went down to Grimgor and attrition from all the squig attacks. But it was fantastic. Anyone who was following #MammothWatch on Twitter will have seen as he went around the event, stomping on things, trampling on things, and being so much better than I thought he was. I now concede that it's probably appropriately costed at 700 points.
Did you fight anything with cannons?
No, I did not.
Possibly, had you had 5 games against Empire, you might have been.
Still got a 4+ ward save and 10 wounds, so I think you'd have been hard pressed to bring it down before it got into something.
I mean, were you there that one time when, at the club we went to a event at the Royal Armourers and we put on a massive display game?
Yeah, I did.
10,000 points. It was Chaos against basically the Empire, and we took the War Mammoth because somebody at the club had one, and I think it took about 6 cannon shots to the face, and then eventually got killed by halberdiers in combat. It's pretty resilient.
Yeah, and that was without the War
Shrine. That was without the War Shrine. Yeah, that's just the fact that cannon in theory does D6 wounds, but the amount of times you roll a 1 or a 2.
Yeah, and on average it will take 3 hits from a cannon without a ward save to kill it. With the ward save, you should need 6 hits from the cannon.
Yeah,
that's even with 2 cannons. That's I suppose you get 3 cannons, can't you?
Yeah, well, so it's 3 cannons. It's 2 turns.
But it's movement 8. It's in combat by turn 2.
Yeah, which it's a Warriors.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
everything's in combat by turn 1. I'd be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is appropriately costed. It's obviously for very large games. It's supposed to come out of your rare allowance. Now, the Hobby Mingvitationals were using the Arcane Unbound rules, so it didn't matter how many points it was. But I wouldn't bring it in a 2,000 point army. I wouldn't bring it in a 2,600 point army again. It was too much all in that. I'd much rather have it at like when Spuddy and I played our 10,000 point aside game, or me and Fisher have played 4,000 and 5,000 point games. That's the type of thing where it'll shine, I think.
At that point, it is the equivalent of playing Warhammer Apocalypse, isn't it? Where you just bring out your ridiculous big things that you never see light of day just because you can.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts getting really fun.
Yeah, after having done quite a lot like that recently, I much prefer that to 2,000 or 2,400 point tournament Warhammer. Playing 3,000 point plus fun hammer.
Oh yeah,
has been absolutely excellent. But you can't get 6 games in a weekend against people you never met before playing that type of Warhammer.
I think you'd be lucky to get 4.
Yeah.
You would be playing very quickly, actually, thinking about it to get 4 in a weekend, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You might stretch 3, 2 on the one day and 1 on the other.
Yeah, possibly.
But obviously, it wasn't. You've already said it wasn't just about the gaming. So what else was going on?
There was a fluff quiz on the end of day 1, which you were put into teams for. That was fluff taken from the army books rather than just in general. And there was speed painting and speed kit bashing competition. So you choose which you wanted to take part in. The theme for the kit bashing was Year of the Goat, and I couldn't think of anything that would fit in that theme, so I went straight for speed painting. Had to take a model down with you, had to be on an appropriately sized round base, and it could be undercoated, and that was it. So I had to rifle through my bits box the night before because I was horribly unprepared for this because I spent so long making the Mammoth and my army list that I didn't have time to really do it properly. I knew I'd have to use the colour pink, that was Ming's rule, so I pulled out a high elf metal bolt thrower crewman because he had a nice sash around his waist. I thought that'll do in pink.
High elf is about the only thing in the game that'll look alright with a bit of pink on it.
In hindsight, I should have brought pink horror.
Yeah, so much easier. There you go.
Sprayed it white, washed it pink, done.
Wash it, just small one, just dunk it in the.
Yeah, speed painting. We were given an hour to paint this model from undercoat to finished. I made some mistakes. I was trying to paint too much like I do normally. I put quite a lot of time into blending the blue robes on him, and not enough time into painting the feather on his head that's more prominent. I used washes, which were probably a mistake to pick a model which needed it, because it wouldn't dry. So I'm having to wash one section, paint the next section, and then when that's dry, I can go back to the first section and get the wash on the other section. And it was incredibly stressful trying to get everything done, working in time for it. I only just finished, and I could have done with another 10 minutes to get the sword and the feather done to the standard that I wanted. I wasn't happy at all with the model when I'd finished, but it's grown on me since. I think I came third in the speed painting competition, so that's not bad. It's something that was fun, it was different. I'd do it again, but I wouldn't do it with a high elf, and I wouldn't do it with something that required lots of complex blending on it.
So with the Year of the Goat kit bash, what won?
Honestly, I can't remember which one was the winner. It wasn't the one I voted for, which I was gutted about. The one I voted for, I thought was by far the best in the theme. It was like a Beastman rock drummer with a load of massive drums around him, kind of like a cross between a rock band and that the Doofwagon from the new Mad Max film. I thought that was fantastic. It really fit in with the Year of the Goat, and it had a heavy metal thing going on. It's not good of me. I'm sure someone will be upset, but I can't remember what won the speed kit bashing, I'm afraid. But I'm sure that the much better coverage of HMV that Chris Tomlin and the Black Sun will be doing will give them their hour in the spotlight that they deserve.
Now, one thing I was going to ask, because from watching it on Twitter, did somebody turn up in cosplay?
Yes. Well, he didn't turn up like that. Turned up perfectly normally, had as normal as any of us war gamers ever are. Had a nice chat, and then wandered off into the bathroom and came back dressed as a beast man. And it was a fantastic costume, down to having stilts to lift him up onto his hooves, and built out calves to give him the look of the reversed leg that a goat has. It was really, really good costume, and his army list was written in blood on his across his chest and back. It was an excellent costume, completely out of left field. I don't know if other people were expecting it. I certainly wasn't. But yeah, it was really nice. It's another of the things that entered into the spirit of the event, I think.
Yeah, you definitely don't see that as your sort of average Warhammer tournament.
I don't know, Nigel's often cosplaying as a halfling.
Yeah, I've Ewok more.
Yeah, I suppose it's... to be fair, at the Northwest Gaming Centre, there's a fair amount of cosplaying as long as it involves wearing a onesie shaped like that particular animal. But other than that, no, it's not something you see a lot of. It was really good, though. I was really impressed with the quality of it as well. And then one of the players brought a piñata as part of his Adam Bassett's unicorn army. Had a unicorn piñata, which got strung up on the second day. And traditionally, you hit a piñata with a stick to try and break it open. But we had a beast man, so we had an axe, and it was a proper axe to do this. The head came straight off the piñata, narrowly avoided smashing two armies as it bounced across the table, and then sweets were for everyone. So, tournament with free sweets is always getting a thumbs up in my book.
So in the end, do you have a list of the winners?
No.
That's a sudden look of fear that just crossed Dan's face.
Was I supposed to?
The realisation of, I can't actually remember anything.
No, I can remember that the best army winner was Steve Foote. And that was the competition everyone was really there for, best army. Steve Foote's Cult of Sobek Tomb King army was fantastic. Russ Field's Nurgle Warriors of Chaos that have been up north to an AGOM event, so some of us will have seen them as well. They came second. I think Russ and Steve were actually tied on votes, and Steve got it on pure coolness factor of his beached Nile barge that formed his display board, and it was Ian Gilmore's Glockkin-led Warriors of Chaos, or possibly Legions of Chaos, that came third. I think, from what I heard, sounds like Ian Carse's Empire narrowly missed out and were in fourth place. Some other people did some stuff with rolling dice and winning things as well, but again, I'm sure Chris Tomlin's vastly superior coverage of the event will cover all of that. We're not trying to do a review of the event, just give you an idea of my impressions of it. And my impression of it was that by the time of the reward ceremony, I was really, really tired and worried about a long drive back. So apparently wasn't paying as much attention as necessary. So my apologies to anyone whose name I've not shouted out for winning an award. Like I say, hopefully the Black Sun will give you your dues.
So I think we'll leave it there with the review. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come back with the DIY chapters. I kind of feel like I should have something else to say other than "and we're back" every time, but I can't think of anything. So
We can
and
say
we're
it
back.
in different languages. What's Klingon for "and we're back"?
I don't know. I could possibly do Welsh, which is Klingon's based stuff. So
Well, that's a point for next time.
yeah.
We'll also take suggestions via Twitter at Table Podcast if you want to suggest what we could say when coming back from a toilet break. That would be nice.
So now it's time to talk about the DIY Space Marine Chapter Challenge.
Yeah, it's exciting. Our first podcast competition. We talked a big game and promised a fabulous prize that may or may not be receiving my favourite tweet blessing. Might be something actually worthwhile and desirable. But yeah, I was really inspired by the new Space Marine Codex, as I am every time the Space Marine Codex comes out. They're what I started playing 40k with, and I always come back to them. I know that it's a bit... they're quite ubiquitous and get a bit of a bad reputation. People have taken to spelling their names in capital letters but spelt wrong on the interwebs. I think I said that right.
Definitely down with the kids for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I am hip to ridicule them because they're the starter army and everybody has them. But I love Space Marines. I love the background. I love the imagery. I love the models, and most of all, I love the ability to write your own background, to create your own little bit of fluff. I know that to some degree, all of the armies try to mirror that same thing. You could have your own Imperial Guard regiment because there's so many of them out there that they're not all covered.
Well, I was just going to say the Imperial Guard is the next one that springs to mind as being quite easy to write. After that, I mean, yeah, you can do your own Eldercraft world, but
you can have your own splinter fleet of one of the three main fleets. You could have your own Tau Sept, but there's not really that same drive to do it, and Games Workshop don't almost push you to do it the same way they do with Space Marines. The fact that there's 1,000 chapters out there, and they make a big deal of saying there's 1,000 chapters, so you can always fit your own into the background somewhere. And I love the world building aspect of creating a new Space Marine chapter. It's something I've done a few times, very rarely past the stage of painting the first few models. But the thing that's actually quite challenging is writing something or coming up with just an idea that fits within the background, that's not just everything that you want and perfect. No Space Marine chapter is absolutely perfect. It would be really easy to say, oh, they've got a mysterious origins and they don't know who their Primarch is, but they excel at all forms of warfare and they're stronger than everyone else. And every soldier in the every one of them's really a powerful psyker. And I might be describing Blood Ravens here. That's how much thought THQ put into the Dawn of War one. But creating something that really fits in the grim, dark 40k world is a bit more difficult. And then coming up with some imagery for it. Now, we were joking about this earlier, saying it's easy to come up with a Space Marine chapter. You just pick a period of military history you like and put it in power armour. You like ancient Greece, like Spartans? Right, slap them in power armour. There's Minotaurs or Ultramarines. You want Knights, where you've got Dark Angels or Black Templars or Howling Griffins. But that kind of proves my point of how different and varied things can be, because the Minotaurs and the Ultramarines are nothing alike. Yet I suppose Ultramarines now are more Roman than Greek, but they started off very much ancient Greek.
yeah.
But the Minotaurs, Sons of Aura, for example, very Greek. Sons of Aura and Minotaurs, totally different. The Black Templars and the Blazing Griffins, Howling Griffins? Howling Griffins, yeah. Black Templars and the Howling Griffins, both famously knightly chapters, nothing like each other. So there's loads of variation in there. And I'm hoping other people get inspired to do it. Some people may already have their own chapter, their own army background they want to submit. And that's one of the reasons why we said that the rules are so loose, really. At one point, we discussed and dabbled with the idea of saying everyone had to paint a 500-point army in their colour scheme that fit with their theme and their background, and then thought, no, because you don't need to do that. I've created multiple Space Marine chapters and not got past the first squad. So if you want to just paint a single model for it, go for it. If you prefer the world building aspect of creating your own chapter, go for it. Slap some paint on a single model and enter that. It was all about celebrate, much like our podcast doesn't focus on a single aspect of the hobby or a single game within it. We wanted to try and celebrate every aspect of the hobby that goes into creating your own Space Marine chapter. So if what you excel at is writing background, writing stories, then make sure that you've got more of that in there. If you're really a really high quality technical hobbyist and painter, then maybe the background's not going to be as important as picking a really nice colour scheme that works on your models, or a really distinctive visual theme that you carry through with your conversions. If you are more of a straight up tournament gamer, then write yourself a tricked out army list and that fits with your theme, and get a single model painted in the colour scheme for that. Everything's open for it, and the judging criteria is very, very loose. I know that a lot of us, a lot of the hosts here are going to enter as well. We'll be eligible for the prize, although it should be quite difficult for us to win, since 50% of the votes will come from us deciding which we think is the best entry, and we in all likelihood are not going to vote for ourselves for that, because we're quite humble and don't really like each other that much. So we're just going to be padding out the entries, I think. I'm quite excited about my entry, but then I get quite excited about everything because I'm a hobby butterfly. This is new. Just to give you some ideas about how to approach it, I've already started designing mine by committee, by tweeting all of my different ideas and asking which people preferred. But I want to do something based off the Arthurian folklore and the idea of the Green Knight and this mysterious champions who appear, do their battle, challenge somebody, and then disappear again, with quite an air of mystery about them. I also want to push the knightly theme, so lots of conversions from bits of Dark Angels and bits of Black Templar will be going in there to get that knightly look across. But they are more romantic period Arthurian knights than holy crusading Black Templars. But also, whilst to the Imperium at large they may appear that they appear and fade mysteriously and have lots of rumours surrounding their origins and what goes on beneath their helmets, they are in fact just another Space Marine chapter who simply maintains that air of mystery to outsiders to give them an edge in battle, to give them leeway to deal with other Imperial forces a bit more evenly and on their terms. So they're not magical ghost Space Marines who appear to save the day, but they have no problem with you believing that they might be magical ghost Space Marines that appear to save the day.
Almost sounds like the start of a theme tune.
Well, this is following on from my last successful DIY Space Marine army, my Bionic Space Spartans. I've nailing down my colour scheme at the moment. I'm thinking it's going to be quite a bright metallic green with surcoats probably in beige or white, because that seems to go with everything.
Yeah.
Personal heraldry in the fields of the shoulder guards, and just coming up with a few classic knightly heraldic images to use one of those as my chapter symbol. I personally really like the world building background writing aspect of it, so I'm going to do quite a lot there, planning out the origins of it, of the army, write an Index Astartes article for them, and if anybody else wants to write an Index Astartes article, format it in any way, submit it as part of your entry. That I'm sure that would go down really well and help as well with with putting yours forward. And then I'm going to paint at least one model, but hopefully my plan is to do about a 600-point allied detachment to add in to use with my Grey Knight army. I should probably have started this by running down the details of the competition. I'm assuming most people have read the blog post.
Well, you probably should go through just in case not everybody has. So the details are on the blog, which is tablepodcast.com, but if you just want to give a rundown,
brief rundown, it is to create a DIY Space Marine chapter, or it can be a Chaos Warband, a Demonkin Warband, something like that.
So basically, it has to have people in power armor.
It does, yes. Has to have people in power armor in it and not already exist in Games Workshop's canon. So you create that and submit an entry before the end of September, I think I said, so we can be judging through the first week or so in October. If you want to sign up, you just have to let us know. Get in touch via Twitter, comment on the blog, come and find us, hound us down, and throw bits of paper at us with your name on. Those are all acceptable. I will take carrier pigeon or a raven. That's what's cool now, right? Send a raven. It used to be owls before then. Yeah, I'm not hip.
No.
No.
I am actually now wondering how many people have brought ravens. Of course,
Do you think?
When the Harry Potter movies first came out, the RSPB were really concerned because the amount of people buying owls for the kids, and then they not knowing how to look, because obviously an owl's quite a specialist pet to look after. They need quite a lot of specialist care and attention, and they're just having like an owl in a cage like you would a budgie. I wonder how many people have got a raven sat in a cage.
You know what? Next time we record, I'm going to get a special sound effects machine we can use every time a tangent. When it goes off on a tangent, I'll have the tangent sound effect. That'll be cool. So just get your entries to us by the close of September. Make sure you've registered before putting your entry forward, so we know who you are and to expect it. And then we'll put things out to the general public and the listeners to vote on theirs. We'll probably do a few more bits on this on the podcast as we get closer to the deadline as well, letting people know how they're getting on and how other people we've spoken to are getting on. I will keep you apprised of how my fledgling Verdant Guard allied detachment's coming along, and we hope this stimulates some ideas in you guys and gets everyone together for some nice new hobby.
And I think that's about it for the chapter challenge. I'm sure we'll come back over the next few episodes as we do more. I need to go away and have a thinking, try and come up with something.
Yeah, have you picked your period of Earth military history that you want to put in power armor?
Well, you see, I was saying earlier, I quite like the idea of just like the American Dust Bowl and just having, essentially George and Lenny in power armor. It's not really military history, but
it all works.
Exactly.
The Dark Angels were created purely from a pun poem.
Yeah.
It's amazing where these germs of ideas come from.
But yeah, so be sure to keep an eye out for more updates on that. So I think we're going to take another break, and then we've got a couple of listener questions to go over, and I think that'll be it. Acroethanol. And we're back.
Yeah, that was a big improvement.
That definitely, the Welsh definitely works.
Yeah. Get some reverb and echo on that as well. If
anybody from Wales is actually listening, I do apologise because that is straight from Google Translate, so probably isn't right. But it's the only other language I can pronounce properly from written text. So, on to listeners' questions.
We had a question from Rich at Gaming King 1616. Do you think the revamped Warhammer Fantasy Battle will be a success?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we covered this earlier, really, didn't we? If Games Workshop didn't think it would be a success, they wouldn't be putting this much effort behind it. I mean, yeah, people will point to Dreadfleet or Execution Squad. Is that what it's called? The new Assassin's game. But those are different as board games. Warhammer Fantasy Battle is still one of its two flagship products. There's been an awful lot of money invested into the R&D of new models, into the plastic moulds, which are incredibly expensive to produce. They're not going to have done all this if we didn't think it was going to be a success. I don't know whether it will be a success with the Warhammer tournament community as we know it, but I'm sure there will be still a tournament community for it, just as a lot of the big names from the 7th edition tournament set kind of drifted away into 8th edition.
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking to sort of Spuddy about last time about this. There will be a number of people who will very, very vocally proclaim that whatever comes out is absolutely god-awful and that they're never playing it again and will leave the hobby. But then there will be a lot more of us who will carry on, and then there will be a lot more people who are drawn into it with a new edition. And at the end of the day, this will be the 9th time Games Workshop has revamped Warhammer, and they're on to the 7th time with 40k. They know how to relaunch a gaming system.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard people worry saying that it's going to be a skirmish game. What I want is a mass battles game. at the end of the day, Games Workshop are not going to write a set of rules which discourage you from buying more models.
Yes.
Then, for all we know, Age of Sigmar is a totally separate skirmish game from what we'll understand to be Warhammer. Maybe it'll scale up perfectly, we don't know. But there's no way that they're going to write a set of rules that actively discourage you from getting more models.
No, it's just not good business sense.
And we've had a question from Andrew at Gore-Tex Gunnison. Of the brothers, who's ahead on painting awards, and have you had to rent extra space to keep them in? I think this is referring to me and my brother Rob, who's also won quite a few Best Painted awards and nominations. But I am pleased that as we sit in my dining room surrounded by trophy cases, I am definitely ahead. Have not had to rent more space, but we did have to buy a second trophy cabinet. How smug do I sound? Twat. And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, no one else wanted to ask us any questions.
We did have one more, didn't we?
But where are my keys?
Other than the where, I think I did answer the where are my keys. I thought we had a Guild Ball based one.
We had a question asking if we were going to talk about Guild Ball.
You may have gathered from the fact we're now at the end of the show, not on this episode.
I mentioned that I needed to paint my masons.
Yep, that's it. I think basically, you may have guessed, Spuddy absolutely loves Guild Ball and is super, super excited about it. I think the rest of us, it's a decent game, but I don't think any of us sort of share Spuddy's passion and enthusiasm for it, do we? But then Spuddy is just generally a little bit overexcitable.
About everything.
Yeah.
He's like a cartoon character. I'm wondering how much of this, while he's editing it, he's going to leave in.
Oh, you see, I think I might actually just edit this episode myself. And then so we can actually say whatever we want about him now and then.
Calm down.
An appalling Scouse accent.
That wasn't supposed to be a Scouse accent.
No.
That was just my response to people in. I can't do a Scouse accent.
That's all right.
No. Well, that's one of the reasons we took the decision to get so many hosts onto the show, really, because we're all passionate about different things, and we can bring that to it. Not every episode is going to focus on the same games. There'll be different themes running through, so hopefully someone can get a little bit of something, something out of every episode. But our Guild Ball League has kicked off, so the next episode will definitely feature some Guild Ball on it, because we'll be talking about the first games in our league. And I'll be talking about how I stayed up all night painting masons and now never want to see another one of them again.
And on that note, I think it's time to end the show.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, and thank you to everybody who followed #MammothWatch over the course of the previous weekend. And the 3 months before that, while I painstakingly painted the giant heavy thing.
You do realise now I'm going to have to stick a huge amount of reverb on that as well.
Yep. Mammoth Watch!
There we go. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Table Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the show, you can visit the blog, tablepodcast.com, or follow us on Twitter, @tablepodcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so by leaving us a positive review on iTunes and by subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, and we hope to hear from you again soon.